Hey humans, day 39 on this journey. Well, have you ever held on to something a little longer than you should have? Have you ever been in a conversation a little longer than you should have? Have you ever been in a relationship longer than you should? Have you ever held on to struggles a little longer than you should have? Have you ever given in to things and stayed there a little longer than you should have? You start off in things and you're just like, nah, I got this. I got this. I got this. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. And as time starts moving along and things starts going along and you're like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. You start off with, yeah, I'm good. I got this. And then you go into, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. And then you're like, yo, I'm good, right? I'm good. Yo, am I good? Get to that point. Have you ever experienced that? We all have. Let me introduce you to, or reintroduce you, remind you of Matthew 14:28 through 32. It's the story we know lots about. And if you don't know a lot about it, read it. It's Matthew 14:28 through 32. And that's the story when Peter sees Jesus. Actually, they're on the boat. The disciples are on the boat. They see Jesus walking, and Peter, the bold one, he wasn't the only one on the boat. Let me just put that out there. But he's the only one that came out and said something. But that's the story for another day. So Peter says, Jesus, if it's you, call me out and I will come and I'll get out of the boat and I'm going to walk on water. He says, call me out. And Jesus doesn't say nothing else but just one word, come, right? So Peter gets out of the boat. He starts walking on water. He gets out of the boat, starts walking on water, notices the wind, gets scared, and starts to sink. Gets out of the boat, starts walking, notices the wind, gets scared, and he starts sinking. Process, right? I'm not going to go into that either. However, what I find to be interesting is that there was a process that he went through before he started sinking, before he got to the point where he started panicking. There's a couple things that happened before he got to that point. And I like to identify those little steps in my life. I think it was yesterday, we were just talking about panicking over time, chasing that clock, right? It gets to a point where you get to that place. So when my little human, who isn't little anymore, he's a big boy now, but when my son was little, we used to go to a friend's house, and my friend and I were about the same height. At that time, we were about the same weight. We had the same haircut, and my son was really little. So he would hear me, and he would just come around and grab onto my legs all the time. So one day, he was next to my friend, and he grabbed onto her leg. But he didn't look up and realize that it wasn't me because he could still hear me talking. So he held on to her and he was fine. He was fine. He heard me talking and he just held on to her. He was really little. I mean, holding on to the like to her kneecaps, like really little, holding on. And he was fine. And then there came a moment when he saw me walking towards him. He realized he was still holding on to my leg, but he sees me in front of him. So you could see his little brain processing what was going on. And I just stood there and I'm just looking at him. And at some moment you could see like his frown and he started like his lips started quivering, but he didn't let go and start running to me. He just kind of stood there, kind of panicked for a little moment. And he just stood there and I just looked at him and I just looked at him and I was like, Genesis? And you could see in his mind that he knew he wanted to go with me because he thought it was me who he was holding on to, but he didn't want to let go because he was afraid of letting go. Like he was confused. That's my mom there, but I feel her leg here, but she's over there. Like, how is this happening? And then it came to a point when he didn't know what to do. So he still held on and he reached out for me and he just started crying and crying and crying and crying and crying. And I just looked at him and I was just like, Genesis, look at me. You're okay. You're okay. And the more I kept telling him he was okay, I was just like, come. I didn't use that many words. I just said, come here. And I got down to his level because he was little. And it got to the point where he was able to let go of that grip and start walking towards me. He saw me in front of him. He saw it was me. And he recognized that what he was holding on to wasn't me. And he had to get to the point where in his mind and in his heart, he had to trust what he saw. And he came over to me to understand that I was there And he had to overcome all the thoughts in his head, realize what he was holding on to, and realize he had to tell his body to let go so that he could move forward. And that really, really impacted me at that point then, because I was just like, I had to get to the point where no matter what was happening around him, no matter what he was thinking, no matter what he was feeling, I needed him to say, look at me, stay here, look at me. Because, I mean, can you imagine what his mind was going through? Like, if I let go, is that really, but that's my mom right there. But if I let, but that confusion, right? And it's okay because he was little. And it's kind of what we have to go through in life in general. There's things that we hold on to that we know that we need to let go. And as young, very, very new in our walk with God, because we've been talking about getting closer to God. And when we're new in this process, holding on, it's a tight grip. But there comes a point where we shouldn't be holding on this hard, this tight for this long. We shouldn't. And we know what's wrong, and we know what we need to do, and we just need to do it. We just need to do it. And God is just telling us, come. No matter what's happening, no matter what's going on, let go and come. And like I said, there's times where I was able to be just like, come on, Genesis, you're okay. And then there's other times where I'm just like, let's go. Like, let's go. And God tells us that a lot of the times. God is above all things. And we know that. But sometimes it's easier to stay where we're at, because if we stay where we're at, we justify that feeling of where we're at allows us to behave a certain type of way. And allowing us to behave a certain type of way keeps us in that position, keeps us in that place, and we don't grow. And we can blame it on our situation. But sometimes we need to recognize it's time. We've grown. We need to get up and we need to let go of things. We're addicted to things and we know how to get out of that. And even if we can't do it on our own, especially if we can't do it on our own, where's your village? Call your village. Let's go. Get out of where we're at. Get up. Shoulders back, chin up. Like, let's go. Because God is above all things. And God is telling us, come on, let's go. Get up. Let go of what you're holding on. Your grip is a little too tight. Or sometimes you're like really close to, like, instead of having that tight grip, to just kind of like, you're almost gone. You just got to start walking. You've already let it go. It's time to start walking forward. It's time to grow. Walk forward. So I encourage you today to remember that God is above all things. And in that scripture that we were talking about, as soon as Peter started to sink, the word says immediately God reached out to help, to bring him back to security. So you know what? Immediately God is going to respond. But there's times when God is going to say, let's go. You're not even drowning. Let's go. Get up. So I encourage you today to get up, keep moving forward, get closer and closer to God every single day. Let's go. Get up. Have a good one. I will talk to you soon. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment. I want to know what's happening in your life. Have a great one.